first elected in 1990, I ran in a 60% Democratic district against a 14-year Democratic incumbent. Was given absolutely no chance to win the race. In fact, the head of the congressional committee wouldn't even meet with me because he said I had no point in meeting because I had no chance of winning. I sort of felt that way a few months ago when I was in this race. But you know what? I believed that someone had to go out and fight for the principles that made this country the greatest country in the history of the world. Right now, and so I went out undeterred. Karen and I, my wife and I, we just got married that year. We went out and knocked on 20,000 doors, and we had some debates. And when in those debates, well, let's just say the local press reporter, the Pittsburgh Press, which no longer exists, the reporter said, you picked him up, you threw him down, you stomped all over, and you spit on him for good measure. And we were able to turn that race around, and in 2 weeks' time, we went from single-digit recognition to winning that race. Because I was able to stand up and articulate the vision, the conservative vision for this country, and mobilize people to go out and win an election in a 60% Democratic district in a bad election year, 1990. And then I went down to Washington, D.C. and did something that those of you who have not followed my career, you got to remember. I haven't just stood up and fought for conservative principles. I stood up and fought against corruption. I stood up and fought against the insular politics of Washington, D.C., and I won. I worked with John Boehner in a group called the Gang of Sept, and we found corruption with members of Congress actually having interest-free loans at the House Bank. It had been going on for decades, had been reported for decades. No one decided they wanted to do anything. I did. With John Boehner, we went up there and we exposed it, and members of our own party were threatening me. Both parties were coming after, you can't do this, you're going to ruin our political careers. And you know what we did?